Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH product review. So what sports an amazing hour-and-a-half recharge time from AC wall outlet, has an amazing 1800 watt pure sine inverter, and claims it can actually charge a Tesla car? The EcoFlow Delta 1300, of course. You guys have been hounding me for over 6 months to get my hands on one of these and do a review. Well, I finally was able to get one from the company because they've been sold out ever since they left Kickstarter. But now they're back in stock. So let's take a closer look at the solar generator that you guys have been waiting for me to review. So what comes in the box? Everything you see here, including a pretty cool soft case, which I find strange because there are no handles or straps, and it's just one little piece of Velcro that holds it closed. But they give you a soft case nonetheless. Let's take a closer look at all the cables you get. All right, you get the typical warranty paperwork. It does say there you get a 2-year manufacturer's warranty, the user guide, which we will go over in a moment, and you get the power cable for the Delta to charge it with AC power. You get a 12 volt to XT60 connector, so you can use this to charge the Delta from your vehicle. And you have this really nice long cable. It's a MC4 with XT60 on the other side. It allows you to pretty much keep the Delta inside if you want and have solar panels outside. Here they're showing you how you can hook up solar panels in different configurations. For example, I showed you guys series parallel on my MAXOAK BLUETTI video recently, so if you want to see that in real action with real solar panels, you can go back and watch that video. It does require parallel connectors as they show there. So for UPS mode, they call it UPS mode. Basically, all you do is you leave it plugged into the wall at all times, and then you plug your peripherals or computer or whatever into the AC outlets, and then when the power goes out, it's automatically powered by the inverter. As for what they call series mode here, you can connect up to 3 EcoFlow Deltas in series, basically output of one to input of the other, and at the very end, the last one, they call that the slave unit, that connects to your appliances. So it'll actually drain this back one first, and then this one, and then this one. Here's a closer look at the technical specifications for those of you that are interested, and more information about speed of charging and how to recharge it. The EcoFlow Delta 1300 has a 1260 watt-hour lithium-ion battery rated at 800 cycles to 60% capacity. It's 15 by 7 by 8.3 by 10.6 inches at a mild 31 pounds. Now this display is one of the best in class with built-in charge-discharge times, input-output wattage, and a very cool runtime meter. So it actually tells you how long it's going to take to charge or discharge in hours or minutes. Now the inverter size on this is very impressive. It's an 1800 watt pure sine inverter with a 3300 watt peak, and it has 6 outlets on the back. It also supports MPPT solar charging, of course, and there are 3 ways to charge it: from solar, of course, otherwise they couldn't call it a solar generator; from AC wall outlet, which is the fastest recharge time, and you can actually charge it from 12 volts. It does support from 10 to 65 volts of solar, up to 10 amps, at a maximum of 400 watts. Now the claimed charge times: AC power only takes 1.6 hours, that's just over an hour and a half. From 12 volts, it'll take 10 to 12 hours to charge, and from the maximum 400 watts of solar, about 4 hours. As for 12 volts, there's a single 12-volt cigarette lighter socket on the back. It's regulated at 13.5 volts DC, up to 100 watts or 8 amps. And on the front, you have 2 standard USB, 2 quick charge USB-A, and 2 USB-C. Now, the quick charge USB-A ports are rated at 28 watts, 12 volts, 2.4 amps, and the USB-C is rated up to 60 watts, 20 volts at 3 amps. Now the EcoFlow Delta product line has a 2-year manufacturer's warranty, so if anything breaks, you can send it back within the first 24 months. And of course, I took the EcoFlow Delta into my lab and performed my usual barrage of testing. Battery discharge test. Starting voltage is 13.5. Let's see how she does. Final results, 940 watt hours, 81.5 amp hours, total discharge time 10 hours, 27 minutes. Note the final voltage is 13.5, so this is a regulated output. Okay, the last time I did the discharge test on this, I only got like 940 watt hours out of a 1260 watt hour power station. I don't really trust those results, so I'm going to do this test a second time with the time lapse, as you see here. And let's see if we get the same results, or if at least we get some better results. So I did fully recharge it, again using AC power. Let's go ahead and do the time lapse overnight and see what happens. Final number is 1005 watt hours, 83.97 amp hours, 14-hour discharge time. Now that was at 6 amps. So we got a little bit more power this time by discharging it a little bit slower. Now as for the battery capacity test, I did this test twice because the first time I just couldn't believe that I only got 940 watt hours out of a 1260 watt hour battery. That's only 75%. That's literally the lowest result I've had to date of any power station. Now, the second time I performed the test, I did a little bit better at 1005 watt hours, but that's still only 80%. That's pretty bad. So you average the results of those two tests, you get about 77%. Again, that's still the worst result I've had to date. Here we have the EcoFlow Delta 1300. We're doing the DC load test. Let's see what we can get. It's rated at 8 amps. Okay, there's 8 amps, 91 watts. How far can we exceed it? Not at all. Like, you literally go right past 8 amps and it cuts you off. It overloads and shuts down the output. So you can see right there on the screen, it's blinking overload car output. We did verify that the output is regulated at 13.5 volts. It doesn't matter if your battery's full or battery's dead. You get 13.5 volts from that cigarette lighter port. We're doing the pure sine wave check here on the EcoFlow Delta. As you can see, the sine wave is pure. It is running at 120 volts, 60 hertz. Let's go ahead and try under a dirty load, such as a hairdryer, and see if the sine wave changes. Still looks good. And the sine wave still looks good. Now for this test, I have a stopwatch here. Start with this first hairdryer, and we'll get it up to about 1700 watts. There we go, it's 1700 watts, and knock it up to 2000 watts. See how long we can run it. Okay, 1 minute at 2000 watts. We got an overload warning on there. So there we go. You can do 1 minute at 2000 watts. And of course, we did the pure sine wave test, and we tested it under load. And the inverter is actually a very good, high quality inverter that even though you push it to 18, 1900, 2000 watts, that sine wave is still pure. No matter what, you'll be able to run any appliance in your home or RV or off-grid with the EcoFlow Delta. That's the biggest selling point of this product, is its massive inverter. Now you can't go much higher than that for very long because it will shut down pretty quickly. Now I'm often asked, does the unit support pass-through charging? In other words, can you charge it while you're using it? Can you use the AC output, DC output while you're charging it? You see right now I'm charging it at 400 watts, its maximum input rate. Let me answer that question for you. Yeah, for 1400 bucks, they better allow you to do some pass-through charging. Okay guys, check this out. After about about 15 minutes or so of running, it is now charging at an incredible 1070 watts. As you can see from the kilowatt meter, it is drawing about 1230 watts from the power outlet. That's 10 amps, guys. That's 10 amps AC it's pulling from the wall outlet. So the EcoFlow Delta does live up to its hype about charging speed. 39 minutes remain to charge it 50%. It's about damn time somebody got this right. Now we're going to perform the max rate input test. So we're going to determine what's the maximum voltage you can put into this before it shuts down, and what's the maximum wattage it'll take before it either cuts off or shuts down. So in the back here, I have this 500 watt power supply. It provides 10 amps at 50 volts. So we're pumping 500 watts into this Drock voltage booster. So it's taking the 50 volts from here and it's making it whatever I want here. In this case, 65 volts. EcoFlow Delta says this can handle 65 volts of solar. So we're going to test that now. I have 65 volts set at 8 amps. All you have to do is pretend that this is solar because it does the same job. It's the same job as hooking up solar panels. So here we go. Let's go ahead and plug her in. 65 volts going in. Now it drops the voltage automatically because it's pulling a load. So you can see now it's actually dropped. Now I've noticed that I can temporarily exceed the wattage. Like right now it is actually charging at 440 watts. We're pushing the 65 volt upper limit, but you'll see that it will actually reset it. There we are, 55 volts. Again, it's hard limiting itself to 400 watts. Let's go ahead and take this up. I've taken this up to 70 volts and it was not a problem. See, right now it's pushing 64 volts, 438 watts. Even though this charger can do 500 watts, the self-limiting on this, and you'll see it self-corrects down to 400 every time. It'll let you get away with a little bit more for a while, but then it self-corrects, and sometimes it'll even reset like that. But you can clearly see it's taking 68 volts, 69 volts. It's just resetting because it's got a self-limiter on it. Now what I did here was I lowered the amps on the output so it allow the voltage to go higher. So it's not going to charge as fast, but it's allowing more voltage. So you can actually see this thing is pretty good at adjusting the limit that comes in. So it's very safe. It won't allow you to put more solar in than it can take. So this is one of the smartest charging systems I've seen so far. It's an MPPT controller. It allows crazy amount of voltage, and it will just self-limit on the amount of watts coming in. And at 12.6 volts, it looks like we're getting mid 130s, upper 120s on average, which makes about sense. See if there is a 10 amp limit on the input. So you can technically charge this from a lead acid battery. And the results of the USB output rate check were kind of surprising because the USB-C ports, which are rated at 60 watts, do put out 60 watts. That's not a problem. The USB-A ports, however, are claimed to be rated at 28 watts, but I was only able to pull 21, 22 watts. And that was hard limited. It didn't seem no matter what I did, I could get any more than 21 watts, no matter what the voltage was. So don't expect the USB-A ports to put out the full 28 watts as claimed in the specifications. Now my testing unit doesn't seem to like to switch to 20 volts. I can do 5, 9, and 12 volts, but for whatever reason my little switcher won't let me do 20 volts, but I actually was able to find something that would take 20 volts at 3 amps, and that's the new Suoki S370. It actually takes a Type-C input at 60 watts. So let's go ahead and try the output from the Delta to the input to the Suoki and see what kind of wattage we get up here. So this absolutely is a USB-C 20 volt output that supports 60 watts power delivery. We know that the USB ports on this will support 60 watts of charging. So we're going to check using this little utility, which allows me to manually tell it which voltage to output for the quick charge port. So we have it hardwired right now at 12.4 volts. We'll do a little bit of a zoom. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the amps, watch the watts here, and watch what happens to the voltage when we turn it up past its limit. Okay, we're at 1.5 amps. Still able to pull the 12 volts, 18 watts. So at 2 amps, the 12 volts has dropped all the way to 9.5 volts. Over here it says 10 volts. There we are at 2.5 amps, and that's supposed to be 12 volts, but it's only 7.5 volts. Again, 18 watts, and over here, 22. So it looks like the actual limit on the USB-A quick charge ports is 22 watts, regardless of the voltage setting. Now there is something else you need to be aware of. When the EcoFlow Delta is charging, it actually does give off quite a bit of loud noise. It says here about 40 decibels from the fans, and that's from about a foot away. Just to let you know that it is not silent while it is charging at its higher rates. It does have these dual little computer fans in the side that make a lot of noise. And let you know, the same goes for a high load on the inverter. 55, 56 decibels from about a foot away. This thing does sound like a very loud computer. If you ever used a computer like rendering graphics or something, like an old school PC with the big fans in it, this is exactly what this sounds like. It's not really a pleasant sound, so you should be aware of that. Now, one of the other very unique features about the EcoFlow Delta, and the first for this channel, is that these can be connected together in series, meaning if you can buy up to 3 of these units, and you can chain them from the output of the inverter to the input of the next one. So basically, you'd have a plug going from the output of the inverter on the first one into the input of the second one, and same thing with the second one to the third one, and they'll actually send the power from 1 to 2 to 3, and that'll actually triple the length of time that you can run the EcoFlow Delta. It does not mean that you can combine the power from the inverters. You still only get 1800 watts output at the very end of the chain, but it does up to triple the amount of battery capacity you have. Now that's assuming you actually want to spend about $5,000 to do it. And as for the claim to charge a Tesla, now I don't own a Tesla, but I have watched other videos where people have used this to charge a Tesla. You can expect to get about 3 extra miles of range, and it takes like a half hour to 45 minutes to discharge this completely. So while it's not very practical at all, if you did carry this in the trunk of your Tesla and you were 2 or 3 miles short of a charging station, instead of getting a tow, you can plug in your Delta, wait a half hour, and you can crawl your way to that next charging station. So what kind of stuff can you power with the EcoFlow Delta? Well, practically anything that you can power off of an AC outlet in a house that would be on a 15 amp circuit. Let's take a look. First test, the microwave in my RV. It's a 1000 watt microwave. Let's see how the EcoFlow Delta handles it. 1300 watts? No problem. But you might be asking me, why is it consuming 1300 watts for a 1000 watt microwave? Well, because there's inverter inefficiency. The microwave consumes 1000 watts of power to cook your food, but to convert that from 12 volts to 110 creates waste power in heat. So you're actually going to burn a couple extra 100 watts running your microwave that you typically wouldn't, because this has an inverter in it. You're converting the energy from your battery to an inverter, which allows you to power AC appliances. So there's obviously a lot more waste. When I'm powering my microwave directly off the generator and I use my kilowatt meter, it shows 1000 watts. The next test. What about my air conditioner? Now this is a Frigidaire 5000 BTU fully mechanical air conditioner. I put this in myself about 2 years ago. It's very efficient. It only requires about 500 watts to run. And as you can see from the sweat on my face, it's 100 degrees today, and I have this turned off to do this video. And trust me, I want to turn it back on right away. So let's see how the EcoFlow Delta handles my air conditioner. All right, here's my air conditioner plugged in with an extension cord over to the EcoFlow Delta. So there's a close-up of the power consumption of my 5000 BTU air conditioner. As you can see, it's consuming 475 watts right now. Now it will go up slightly once it's running for a while. I've seen it hit about 550. The Delta is currently 41% full, and it says right on the left there, it'll run for 55 minutes. So on a fully charged EcoFlow Delta, you can expect about 2 hours of runtime on a similar size air conditioner. And again, forgive my mess, I'm doing some renovations, and yes, I'm going to cover that in a future video. So here's another question I get asked all the time. Professor, how can I use the EcoFlow Delta or whatever power station to charge the batteries in my RV or my camper or my van, or as long as you have some kind of house batteries in your RV or trailer, there's usually a battery charger on board, so if you plug in the shore power, the batteries get charged. Well, the EcoFlow Delta can charge the batteries in your RV, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to do that. Now, my Road Trek has a 30 amp cord. You can see this thing is massively thick. It's got this crazy 30 amp plug on the end. And I just have this $5 adapter which converts 30 amps to 15 amps. So I just plug that onto the cord like this. It's very simple. So here we go, we're plugging it in. And now my RV, my entire RV, is being powered by the EcoFlow Delta's 1800 watt inverter. Now, realize, you're only going to be able to pull 1800 watts out of this, which is about 15 amps. Even though I have a 30 amp cord and it's a 30 amp circuit in my RV, I can only pull 15 amps from the EcoFlow Delta because it only has an 1800 watt inverter, and that's about 15 amps. Now this is showing right now 310 watts. That's charging my batteries in my RV. So let's go inside and look at my battery monitoring system and see exactly how many watts we're pulling. So it's showing that my 3 Battle-Born batteries are currently at a state of charge of 71%. And they're charging at 659 watts right now. Let's go outside and check the Delta and see what kind of power we're pulling from it. Oh wow, look at that. We're pulling 1150 watts. That's pulling quite a bit of power just to charge the batteries. Chargers, battery chargers in specific, aren't very efficient. They generally waste 20 to 30% power. So if you put 1,000 watts in, expect about 700 watts going into your batteries. So let's do another experiment. Let's go ahead and turn on my air conditioner too with the batteries charging and see what happens with the EcoFlow Delta. We're gonna go ahead and kick on the air conditioner. See what happens. And there we go. We're pulling 1,623 watts. Now that is powering my battery charger on full, charging my Battle-Borns, and running the air conditioner at the same time, as well as all my security cameras and computers and everything else on board, as fully powering my RV. Now granted, it's not gonna power my RV for very long, especially with all that load on there, but it proves the point that you can power just about anything with the EcoFlow Delta. That's its strong point. So what do I like best about the EcoFlow Delta? Well, it has to be that 1800 watt pure sine inverter because it allows you to run literally any appliance that you could typically run off a 15 amp circuit in your house or RV. That lets you run everything from microwaves to air conditioners, full-size coffee makers, even a hairdryer on full blast, which should make the women very happy. Yes, there are power stations out there with much larger inverters, but they're usually massive, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 units that you can't really move unless you have people helping you. So in this range for something that's this small and this portable and you can pretty much lift up with one hand, it's an amazing feature. My second favorite feature is the 1.5-hour quick charge time. That is so awesome and is industry leading in this regard. I've never seen another portable power station even come close to the charge rate of this thing. However, it's only via AC power, and only if you have a 110 circuit that can handle at least 12 amps. That means you better have a generator that can handle about 1800 watts or plug into an outlet in a house or somewhere on the road that can handle at least 12 amps. Because if you don't give it 12 amps, it won't charge. I found this out when I tried to charge this thing from an extension cord coming from the RV. I had a 50-foot extension cord, this thing just kept restarting, it wouldn't charge. And there's no way to turn that down. So you can't tell this thing, oh, only charge at 500 watts, don't charge at 1200. That's a feature that's missing from this that hopefully they'll include in the future. Now what I don't like about the EcoFlow Delta is its far below rated capacity. I was really shocked to see how little capacity this thing really holds. As a comparison, the much less expensive JACKERY Explorer 1000 with a much smaller 1002 watt-hour battery actually has 935 watts of capacity. Now the second thing I don't really like about the EcoFlow Delta is its poor cycle life. It's only rated at 800 cycles to 60% capacity, which is a stat they strangely seem to bury, and I had a really hard time finding it. Now I have to assume that the poor rating is because of the two main features of the EcoFlow Delta. It's very fast charge and very fast discharge times. When you do that to a lithium battery, it actually loses life a lot faster. Things get hot inside. Lithium ion does not like to be hot and does not like to be charged and discharged really fast multiple times. I'm assuming that's probably why the rating is so poor. Now I suspect if you charge it slow and discharge it slow, you'll probably get a lot better life cycle than what they claim. But because a lot of people are probably going to charge this from AC power and use the big inverter on it pretty regularly, because why would you buy it otherwise? You can expect to replace this in about 3 years. Now, yeah, you could stretch that out to 5, 6, 7 years if you only use it occasionally, but if you're using this thing every day off the grid in your RV, cabin, or wherever else, about 3 years, this thing's only going to have about half its capacity. So be aware of that before you make the investment. Now, the third thing I don't like about the EcoFlow Delta is that it's expensive per watt hour versus the competition. This is one of the most expensive solar generators on the market today at $1.39 per watt hour. Compare that to $1.06 per watt hour for the JACKERY Explorer 1000 when it's not even on sale, and only 85 cents per watt hour from the BLUETTI 1500 watt hour power station. That means for all the blingy features that you get, the really fast charge, very fast discharge, a really nice display, all that, you're paying in the end a lot per watt hour, so just be aware of that. So pricing and competition. The current product price is $13.99. EcoFlow never offers any kind of discounts. That's the price everybody pays. It's the retail price. Don't ask for a discount. As for the competition, the only thing that challenges the Delta when it comes to inverter size is that $3,000 Titan and the $3,400 Yeti 3000. Neither of which I've tested, so I can't really comment too much about them. But even at those prices, the Delta still charges faster. Now, the main competition when it comes to price, this is a very hot segment right now at this price point. The JACKERY Explorer 1000 gives you the same usable capacity, the same regulated 12-volt output for $400 less. The MAXOAK BLUETTI 2400 watt hour for only $300 more will give you more than double the battery capacity of this thing. Still gives you the regulated 12-volt output and actually charges faster with solar at 500 watts, where this is limited to only 400 watts. So who is the market for the EcoFlow Delta? Well, this is actually aimed at people who really need to have that 1800 watt pure sine inverter. They have an appliance they want to run off the grid. There's no other way to do it without a really complicated battery and inverter setup. They want something portable that can run any appliance. But on the other hand, they don't care so much about capacity. They're not planning on running things for days and days. They might just want to use it for a short blackout, be able to run their air conditioner, the refrigerator, brew coffee in the morning during a blackout. This would actually be aimed at that kind of person because it doesn't have the battery capacity to really run for a long time. For example, at 1800 watts, it's only going to last you for half an hour. Of course, the upside is that you can buy up to 3 of them, chain them together, and get an hour and a half of runtime. Of course, it's going to cost you over $4,500. Not very practical. If you're going to spend that kind of money, there are much beefier options out there, like I mentioned before, the Titan, the really big Yeti. If you want to spend $4,000 or $5,000, you can do a lot better than 3 of these. However, this is super portable. So if you really do want to buy 3 of these and portability is everything to you, then it might be a wise decision. Now, in the end, it comes down to this. If you really don't need that 90-minute quick charge time or a big 1800 watt inverter, there are many better values out there. Now, what about recommended solar? Now, you can run up to 3 12-volt solar panels in series for the EcoFlow Delta and charge it up to 400 watts. Now, you can put whatever big panels you want. They can be as large as you want as long as they don't exceed, in combined series, 65 volts. Now, I do recommend the 170 watt Bouge RV rigid glass panels that I did review earlier, or you can get a couple of those Windy Nation 100 watt flex panels, or just about anything on hobotech.tv/Amazon. If you want something that folds up, you can't go wrong with any of the folding panels on that page. So my final thought, is the Delta the big game-changing solar generator that everybody says it is? I think they're about 80% of the way there. They really need to up the usable capacity and the lifespan of the battery if they want to continue to charge the premium for their power stations. Now, if you're interested in the EcoFlow Delta 1300, there are links in the description below. These things sell out very quickly and may only be in stock for a day or two after this video comes out. So if you want one, make sure you grab it quickly because who knows when they're going to come back in stock again. Thanks for watching. If you learned something, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
Super Pursuit Mode.
for watching our video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe, share, and like. And we'll see you guys next time. Say hi, Odin.
RV Golf Guy, Pat.